I've got a very special guest joining the show today. He is coming off of a massive win just a couple of weeks ago, where he's now moved to 27-2 with his record, 18 KOs in that record. But the big news is that he's now the WBA and WBC flyweight world champion. That's none other than El Nino. That's Ricardo Sandoval. Ricardo, appreciate you for taking time to come on today.
No. Thank you for inviting me, and I don't know. I just have excited for this interview.
Absolutely, man. Well, I don't think there's any other way I could possibly start this interview other than saying this. Has it set in yet? Has it set in that you are now a unified two-belt world champion at flyweight?
Nah, I think it's still crazy to me. We just winning the two titles. It was something that I dreamed my whole career, and
Mm.
it's just been so many years of hard work and dedication. And it's finally here. It just it's still surreal.
When you arrive back home, because obviously for those that watch the fight, you're all the way out in Japan. So when you get back home with family, with friends, and you get to celebrate, I saw a little bit of the videos that you guys got to have out there. What was that experience like, just being able to celebrate this massive career milestone with everybody you love and know?
It was amazing. It was beautiful to see all my family there, families and friends there that's been there since day one.
Right.
Being able to give them that joy, is something very very beautiful to see. And then it was the people that's been there since day one. So being able to see them and they were so happy, it means the world to me.
All right, now I want to lead and kind of discuss into the build-up process for this fight because you look at the situation you're placed into. Obviously, we knew that you were going to get a world championship shot soon. You were deserving of it, but you go right for the top guy, Kenshiro Teraji. This is a man that's a top 10 pound guy. I had him at number 9 leading up to that fight. This is a massive fight. This isn't just a world championship fight. Like I said, you're going to Japan, a pound for pound type guy. A guy that has 2 belts. When you first got this offer presented to yourself, just take us through how it all came to be.
Yeah, I was playing FIFA. I was on my PlayStation. I was playing some FIFA, and I got the text from my manager, and he was like, I took a peek. I took like a small peek just to see. I was like, apologize. I'm gonna defend my silver because I saw the ABC.
Hmm.
I'm just gonna defend my WBC silver title.
Right.
And I was done with my match, and then I checked, and then it said, "Oh, we're looking into Ricardo Sandoval WBA versus for the WBA WBC World Title." Boom, my heart dropped. It was crazy. I was like, damn. I was like, right away. I was like, let's go do it. Boom,
Mm.
I was like, let's do it. I've been waiting for the opportunity for a very long time, and there's no way I was gonna miss it.
So many guys in today's world, you look at the business aspects and some guys will say, okay, this is in a sense the boogeyman of the division. This is that top guy. I want to work myself up and maybe go after an easier guy, go after one of the other world champions, position myself better. Obviously, that's not what you did. And so for yourself, I want to ask with the mindset because your mindset is not what everybody has. On paper, it looks great, but you're going out there and finding Taraji. Why did you feel so confident say, you know what, I'm taking this fight no matter what?
Yeah, I think it's the experience that I have fighting, in people's backyard. The experience that I've gotten throughout the years.
Mm,
And I feel like I worked too hard not to give it a try. I worked too hard for it. Like I'm gonna give it. I give it all. I give it my all in each training camp. And if he beats me, then he's just the better fighter than me. So
mm.
I'm not here to. Oh, let me just see if I could beat the easier person. No, I was like, I'm here to challenge myself, and that's what I did. And then all the risk was rewarded.
We're going to go into your story a little bit later and go more in depth on everything you've gone through. But just when you look at, like you said, the experience you've had, you are only 26 years old, but you've gone 2 different losses in your career. You've gone through so many different ups and downs to get to this point. How much has those ups and downs of your career to this point helped you prepare yourself now for this big opportunity, now becoming the unified world champion?
I believe my first loss, I feel like it was in TJ, and I believe I won that fight.
Right.
And the second one, many people, it was a big step back because it was for a title eliminator.
Hmm.
And I had one in the UK for a title eliminator as well, and I never got that world title shot. So I was okay. I'm gonna leave it. It's been a year since I fought because I was waiting for the opportunity.
Hmm.
So I had that second loss against Jimenez, and it was a fight that many people said that I had won, but maybe God thought that it wasn't my time. Maybe
Hmm.
he was like, okay, now it's not, you're not ready to become a world champion.
Right.
Let's get a couple more fights, and that's what we did. And then the opportunity came out of nowhere.
Do you feel like, if you go back in time, obviously at the moment, I know you didn't want to lose that fight, you wanted to win the fight, so on and so forth. But do you feel like experiencing that situation, obviously it was a controversial loss, but still experiencing that loss, having to, in a sense, rebuild yourself, did that make you more prepared to where you are at today, more confident as you now hold the two belts?
Yeah, I feel like that's what it is. Maybe I needed that more experience. I needed those other. I needed more rounds into my resume, and I feel like that's what made me a better fighter, and just to be more calm and be ready for that world title fight that I just had.
All right, so let's go into the build-up process now. From the mental aspect, as I talked about, you know who you're fighting. This is a man that anyone in boxing knows is a pound-for-pound type guy. But I want to go into your mindset. You're the fighter. You obviously have to have confidence, and you so did because obviously you went there out there and won the fight. You accepted the fight. But what's going through your mind? Was there ever a sense of doubt in yourself, or were you always 100% confident all training camp leading up to that fight?
Yeah, I was 100% confident throughout the whole my whole training. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's why I trained so hard. We actually even we were in Big Bear for a whole month just to be 100% ready. No, just stay concentrated in the fight. No distractions, nothing. I just put everything into the training camp and to be 100% prepared and to come out with my hands raised.
And I want to ask you, what's the experience like out there in Japan? For somebody that I love watching Japanese fights, the atmosphere is different, it's unique, but the fans embrace fighters. And so I have to ask you, what was your experience like going out there to Japan?
It was different and it was beautiful. You know, a lot of people, the people out there is really respectful. You
Mm,
know, I actually, it was the first time I experienced this. At the hotel, I had people waiting outside the hotel, and soon as just for an autograph,
mm,
um, my trainer called me a couple times. He's like, "Oh, you got some supporters out here. They want to get your signature. You want to come down?" I was like, "Oh yeah, like let me just put some shoes on. I'll be right down." And I got to interact with all those people there. And after the win, you know, I still everybody still was really supportive and really respectful. So it's something that I enjoyed from Japan.
I know just when we look at it from the outside looking in, I feel like Japan and Mexico overall, also the UK, like those fan bases seem to be a little bit different, more invested, I should say, as a country overall. When it comes to boxing, would you say it's an accurate statement?
I believe it's yeah, you could say. I feel like because I also had family, I had family that and supporters that went to Japan, and
Mm,
I could say they were the only ones making noise and just screaming. But it was I could say it's just there's different it's like the whole culture of the boxing thing is different, and
mm-hmm,
I feel like people just support how it is. Actually, I was surprised at the I think it was the 11th round. My family was screaming El Niño, and then I could hear them when I'm fighting in the round, and then out of nowhere I could hear it around the arena.
mm.
It just motivated me. It pushed me a little bit more for that those final rounds.
All right, well, let's hop into this fight. You step inside the ring, Kenshiro Teraji, as I said already many times, top 10 pound fighter, and it's really a back and forth fight. Very, very competitive. Obviously, I feel like those first 4 or 5 rounds, it could have gone either way. Teraji seemed to have a little bit of lead then in the middle rounds, and then you finish off very, very strong to where you end up getting the win there. Can you just take us through a round by round basis? You're going through this fight, the ties, the shifts, everything happening in the midst of this fight. Just break down what you remember from that fight overall.
Yeah, what I remember is that Teraji was a fighter that likes to step in, step out, step in, step out.
Mm-hmm.
And me and my trainer we trained that. We was like, okay, he's gonna do this, he's gonna do that. But when the fight starts, I don't know what got into my head, and I started imitating the same thing that he was doing. So I started jumping the same way he was doing, and I was more longer than him, so I knew my jabs were gonna be effective.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what round by round, like it just he wa- it was really hard for him to fight for him for to figure me out,
Right.
and he was just confused throughout the whole fight, and then it just he caught me with the right hand.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was a clean punch. He dropped me. I was never hurt. I was conscious. I knew exactly what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what that did, it just woke me up more, and it pushed him to win every round and just keep pushing and come out with the win.
I'm glad you brought up the knockdown point because when I was watching the fight, round five comes around, you get he gets the knockdown obviously on you, but it felt like obviously it was probably about maybe 20, 30 seconds. It felt like you really were 100% back to yourself, but that's when the tie started to shift a little bit. I think you maybe won a couple rounds after that, but it seemed to have really woken you up and you really got locked into your game plan. Would you say that's an accurate statement there then?
Yeah, I could say that it I've been dropped many times, and I just feel like this one just like it woke me up like to push harder, and I was like, this is what I've been training for my whole career. You know, this
Hmm.
world title fight. I'm not gonna let it go in just in one round. So it just woke me up, and it just motivated me to keep pushing.
What round, if there even was one, would you say that you started to feel like, okay, I feel like I could be in control of this fight now. I feel like I've got him figured out. I feel like I have a chance to actually put on the gas, and possibly even come out with the win now.
It never came into my mind. I just
Okay.
kept going in whatever my corner was saying. Each time I was in the corner, they were pushing me to do the instructions. You know, keep throwing that jab, don't stay in the ropes, and I was just going round by round.
All right. So when the scorecards come out, 117, 110, 115, 112, 113, 114 favor Taraji. What's going through your mind as those scorecards are being read out loud?
I don't. I remember 117, 110. I was looking down and I just kept saying, and the new, and the new, and the new, and then boom, when they said it, I just screamed it out. I was like, it was just a beautiful moment for me and my team.
Did you believe heading into the reading the scorecard that you were going to come out victorious?
Yeah, I knew. I thought I had control most of the fight. Yes, he knocked me down, but I've they told me that don't focus. A lot of people see one fight. Referee sees 12 fights,
Hmm.
meaning 12 rounds. So
Right.
whatever you do in the first round doesn't mean what's gonna happen in the 12th round.
Hmm.
So I was confident, and my team was confident that I was gonna come out with the win.
All right. So I have to ask you this next question then. This moment is probably has to be, in my opinion, I have to guess and imagine this probably is your favorite moment of your boxing career, probably even your life to this point in time. Is it going to be possible to ever surpass what just happened in Japan?
I don't know. Maybe becoming undisputed.
All right.
Maybe becoming undisputed will be the best moment. But I feel like it's gonna be really tough because going into enemy territory,
Hmm.
fighting a top 10 pound for pound, fighting somebody that I think this was his 13th defense in the world title.
Hmm.
And the most important thing is that a lot of people didn't believe in me.
Right.
It just motivated me to keep working hard and just to prove everybody wrong that hard work, really, really pays off.
Now I have to imagine the mindset in a sense now shifts, at least from the outside looking in, because now you just went from a guy that was being the hunter. All this time you're working your way up, you're trying to go after these world champions, you're trying to go after Taraji, you're trying to go after these type of guys. But now it's different. You're the guy with the two belts now. You have the most belts at flyweight. You're this guy that's now everybody's going to be hunting. Is there a difference in the mentality that you realize that you're no longer really that underdog anymore?
There is, but I feel like a lot of people still doubt me in the way that, oh, maybe that was a lucky fight.
Okay.
But I don't I'm not satisfied just because I won the world titles. I want to keep winning more.
Hmm.
Um, I want to become. Now that I got the main goal was to become world champion. Now that I've done that, let's go for all of them. Was like, why not? So you just gotta prove, just give myself more motivation, and if I become undisputed, not do the same. Try to do the same thing I won 15,
Right.
and try to keep going. Just keep pushing.
Well, it kind of leads into something I want to wrap up with, but that's just to get into it right now. That's talking about future plans. Now, obviously, there's a lot on the table. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong here as well, but I believe that you do have at least one more fight going back over to Japan on Honda's promotion. So, is that the plan then? Is your next fight going to be going back to Japan? And whether that is, unification with another champion, a rematch with Taraji, is that what's going to be happening out there in Japan next for yourself?
I'm not sure what they want to do, but I think for sure we'll be going out to Japan.
Okay.
That's one of the things that they had in the contract, and but we'll see what they have, what they want to do. I'm not sure yet
Okay.
what's the plans, but if he wants the rematch, we'll give him the rematch. I believe he deserves it. He was a champion for a very long time,
Right.
and what better way to solidify that I was a better fighter that day.
out of all the options, let's just look at the obvious ones. You obviously have the rematch with Taraji, who still probably is the biggest name overall in the weight class. And then you have the other two champions. Obviously, Anthony Alscagua, he's obviously from America as well. That would be an interesting fight. You also have Masamichi Yabuki. Also, you could go after other top guys like Yankee Rivera, Angelino Cordova, who's going to be fighting in August 23rd, Akui, a lot of different guys like that. Is
Yeah.
there one guy that you look at and say, you know what, if I could pick anything, that's the one that I want?
If I could pick any fight, obviously I would like to unify
Okay.
the division. There was rumors. I don't know if it's true. They were saying that they want to get Yabuki and Anthony to fight,
Hmm.
and then winner goes for all the belts against
Okay.
me. But I'm not sure how true that is. But if they could do that, that'll be crazy. That'll be one for the books. Just one fight undisputed, 2-2.
Hmm.
Put the Ring magazine in the way, and it'll be the big fight.
Or let's say hypothetically that fight does end up happening between those two other guys. Who would you think would end up winning that fight?
I'm not sure. I think Yabuki is probably the most experienced one from the two. I think
Right.
Anthony has. I think I don't think he has more than 10 fights, does he?
I don't believe so. It might be. It might be right at 10 or 11. Let me see real quick. It is. Yeah, he's right at 10. So 9-1 is his career record.
Yeah, I feel like experience is a big thing in big fights, and I feel like Yabuki has been in really really big fights, and he has more experience. But you never know. Like I said, the hunger of being to like train and win the title is just motivates other fighters in these type of moments. So
Right.
it'll be a close fight for sure.
All right. So if you look at the timelines component there, do you think it would be something where if that fight does come to fruition, you would be willing to wait out because that probably would be having you outside the ring for at least 6 months, I'd say, because that fight probably wouldn't happen for another month or two. So it'd probably be 2026 if that were to happen. Would you want to sit at that point, or would you see yourself possibly getting the rematch with Taraji beforehand?
Yeah, if like I said, if Teraji wants to rematch, that's something I believe that he deserves,
Okay.
and I'll be wanting to become to be active. I don't want to be waiting.
Okay. Perfect. Now, the other one I do want to ask you is there is a fight coming up August 23rd between the number 1 and 2 ranked contenders currently. That's Yankee Rivera and Angelino Cordova. Who do you have winning that fight?
It's a tough. I think it's a tough fight. Yeah. I think it's a lefty with the righty, I believe, right?
Yep.
Um. I think Yankiel has, if I'm not mistaken, does he have Olympic experience?
I believe he was an Olympian. I think it was the Tokyo one. Let me make sure. Yeah, 2020 Olympics. Yep.
Yeah, so he has experience from that. And Cordova is just a fighter that comes forward, and he knows how to fight. He knows how to box pretty good. I was actually there when he fought Tito Acosta,
Okay.
and he beat him. Big. It was people had it as a big upset, but it was a good fight. I think it's a 50-50 fight, and anybody could come out with the victory.
All right, so I'm going to set the stage for yourself now. Let's say hypothetically, Anthony and Yabuki fight each other. They have the two belts. You guys end up unifying, going for undisputed then at that point in time, and you are undisputed world champion at 112. At that point in time, would you want to move up to 115? Would you defend your belt? What would you do in that position?
Yeah, I think I just go up to 115. I
Okay.
feel become undisputed is the biggest thing you could do at one any division,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to look for other challenges and doing that going up to 115.
All right. Now you are 26 years old. You also are pretty tall for the weight class as well. I think anybody that watches you fight knows it's pretty noticeable. What weight class do you see yourself settling down at in the future? Do you feel like you could get up to 118, move to 122 super bantamweight, or where do you see yourself possibly fitting at? When you're in your 30s or whatnot.
Yeah, I could see. I'm not sure. I could probably see myself going to 122.
Okay.
Yeah, I think 122 is something that is good for me. I don't know about 126, 130. People say I have the height for it,
You do. Yep.
but I don't know how big I could get. I'm pretty skinny, so
Absolutely. Now, I just have to ask a couple more future questions, and one of those is this. When you do look at your outline for your career, you've already proven people wrong. You've had one of the biggest fights you could possibly have in your career at this point against Taraji. Anything is obviously available for yourself. So when you talk about what you want to accomplish over the next, let's say you have 9, 10 years still, prime years left of your career, what do you have in store for yourself? What do you want to accomplish? What are the goals in Ricardo Sandoval's list?
Yeah, obviously right now at the moment is becoming undisputed at 112, and then just conquer, just collecting belts,
Hmm.
115, 118, and then if I can 122.
Okay.
Let's just become champion. Just keep becoming a multiple division champion, and I feel like that's probably like it's history in the books. I'm already in the history. They say I'm already in the history in the at 112. I
Hmm.
believe I'm like the number four, number five to have two belts at flyweight.
Hmm.
I think there's nobody that's held on three belts at the, flyweight. So
Off the
just
top of my mind, no, I don't believe so.
it'll be just doing history. I feel like doing history is something big in boxing, and
Hmm.
that's something that I want to do.
All right. Now, I have one other thing I want to ask you too in regards to how you've been able to fight in so many different countries. I think it's been 8 or 9 that you've now won in different countries in. When you talk about that aspect, what has been the greatest country to fight in terms of the most atmosphere, the most enjoyable? What country would that be?
I would say probably Japan. Just
Okay.
the whole experience that I've had there, and the time I was there, um, it was really nice. Even when I fought in the UK, the people are actually in the beginning they were booing me and everything. And I was like, I was taking everything in. I enjoyed everything, but after the win, they were really respectful. I actually, I had a great time out there too, and it was cool to experience.
All right. Well, Ricardo, I want people to get to know your story to get to this point because, as I said, now the whole world knows your name, and I want people to get to know how you become the guy that you are today. And so we head back. You're born and raised in California, but when did boxing start for yourself? When did you really start to pursue the sport?
I was my dad has a tire shop, and I was actually at the tire shop when one of my dad's friends and his kid came to the shop, and the kid had some hand wraps.
Mm.
He had the hand wraps from the gym, and then my dad was like, "Hey, what's wrong with your kid?" He's like, "Oh, no, nothing's wrong. He just came from the boxing gym." And boxing was something that in my family always liked to see. They always enjoyed watching boxing.
Hmm.
And my dad looks at me. He was like, "Cause we were about the same age, same height." He's like, "Hey, would you be? Are you willing to fight him?" And I looked at my dad and I was like, "Yeah, like I'll fight him." And then and my dad's friend was like, "No, they can't fight. They can't do street fights. Sign them up at the boxing gym, and then they could do this." He's like, "There's this thing called sparring. You get your gloves, you got your headgear, mouthpiece, and they'll fight. They're like practice fighting in the ring." And my dad was like, he's like, "You're down?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, he's like, and then 3 weeks later, he signs me up. And then I just, right there, 2 weeks later, I sparred him. I really didn't have footwork. He had like a year of training, and I did the best I can. And it took, it took me off into that and just stuck with it.
All right. So, at what point then did you start to feel like, you know what, this is something I can make my profession? Because obviously, you're young at that point in time. When did it click and you said, you know what, I actually have a legitimate future in boxing?
It probably took years. I lost my first two amateur fights,
Mm.
and and then I told my trainer, I was like, if I lose my third one, I think I'm done. I don't think this is for me because at the time I also liked soccer. I was really interested in soccer, and I like playing it and everything. So it was something that I at that time I was actually I like more soccer than boxing.
Okay.
And so I told my trainer, and I was like, if I lose one more, I think that's it for me. And then boom, I won like my next 10 fights, and I just kept going. At the age probably like a year or two later, I was probably like 12. That's when I was like, okay, I think I could do something out here and start winning things. Because that's when I started winning tournaments and amateur. I was like, okay, I think I'm pretty good at this, and
Mm.
I found the love for it, and then I just stuck with it.
So would you say it was more so the success almost drove you in terms of saying, okay, I feel like I have a legitimate talent, or was it truly a love for boxing as opposed to soccer?
Yeah, I think after winning a little bit more fights, and then with time I started gaining the love for boxing. because
Okay.
it was for me. It was always the soccer. I was like, okay, I think I could do soccer. I think I could do soccer, and I don't know. I think just after winning the fights and having everything, love just grew with time.
All right. Well, let's head into your future then, because as you start developing, you turn pro then at a pretty young age. And to turn pro at 16 years old, you're gonna have to go fight in Mexico. You're not allowed to do that in America. So you do that route. Why was that the decision you made? Why at that age did you say, you know what? I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna go professional at this young of an age. Why did you make that decision?
The decision was because we were thinking about going to the Olympics,
Okay.
but it was that year where they changed the age from 17 to 19 because they were doing no headgear.
Mm-hmm.
So I was gonna wait until Olympics 2022. So it was gonna be I was gonna be I was gonna be 22 years old.
Right.
I was like, okay, so it's gonna be way too long. At that time I could have more than 10 pro fights. I could be being close for the world title. And so I think it was just a waste of time to try to go to Olympics because you also got to go for the trials and see if you win. And so it was like me and my trainer talked about it, and we're like, okay, after this tournament, we're done, and we'll turn pro in Mexico and get your experience out there.
I will take us through this because I've had a few good different guys. It's a route that is quite common for a lot of people in America to go out there younger and fight Mexico. Each guy has crazy stories about what that's like. So I have to ask you, fighting out there in Mexico, obviously this isn't one of those massive mega cards, it's just a type of getting fights in underneath your belt. What were your experiences and stories like out there?
Yeah, fighting in TJ is different. You'll be they don't even have locker rooms. They'll have like a little area. Boom, all
Mhm.
the fighters, your opponent could be really literally right next to you. When I'm already doing my head, like you can literally see him warming up and doing his hand wraps, and then some of them are kind of like they try to mad dog you. Boom, they see me at that time. I remember there was a fight that I had, and then my opponent shows up. He's like, "Hey," he's like, "Who am I fighting?" And the coach he tells him, he's like, "Oh, you're fighting that kid right there." I was sitting down, and at the time, like even today, I'm 26 and I still look like I'm like what people say I look like 18, 19.
Right.
Just imagine when I was 16 and 17 when people were looking at me, he's like, "Oh, I'm fighting that kid." He's like, "Oh, I'm a beat him up." And they start shadow boxing and this and that. And I was like, and I just laugh at it. And then it was just they know how to talk. They know how to talk their shit. And
Mhm.
it's just funny.
All right, if you look at all the different stories you had out there in Mexico, if you could pick the craziest, most out of the blue, weird story you could possibly come up with, what would that be?
Let me see. Let me think. I my okay. So the last that I have crazy
Mhm.
story. I think it was a setup
Mm.
that they I think it was my third pro fight. They were trying to get me. They were like, "Oh, this is a good fight." No, he's I think he's in the test Ricardo, and then he actually might knock him out. They were
Mhm.
talking about me, and we're like, "Okay, let's." I was like, "Okay, let's do it. Let's do the fight. We'll see what the guy had." And I knocked him out. I think I stopped in the third round,
Mm.
and that's when my fourth fight happened. And we got to the weigh-ins, and they were like, "Oh, your opponent isn't gonna show up because I think they said because of traffic or something."
Hmm.
So I was like, "Okay." So me and my trainer didn't have a lot of experience in TJ, so we're like, we didn't think nothing of it. And then they had another the opponent that I fought. I guess they said his opponent got sick last minute, and they were like, so his fight got canceled. So they came up to us and were like, "Oh, you guys are already here. What do you think? What you think? Should you guys just fight?" We're both 4-0.
Mhm.
And the thing was that I was fighting at 112, and then he was fighting at 118.
Mm.
And they were like, "Oh, well, you guys don't want to fight?" And us not having the experience, we're like, "Oh, we're already here. Might as well just get the fight. Why would we go back and and leave without? It's just a waste of time." So we took the fight. I went up to 118, and us not knowing that the fighter was his trainer was a promoter of the fights.
Mm.
and we didn't know who he was. So when the fight happened and everything, they obviously they gave him the fight, and it was something that it was probably the craziest thing. I was really mad at them. They actually tried to compensate and trying to give me. They gave me like they tried to give me 4,000 pesos.
Mm,
I was like, I don't want your money, bro. I was like, you guys gotta keep things fair. And I was like, and then he was like, nah, he's like, this is how boxing is, and this and that. When him telling me that, I was like, damn. I was like, all this I worked just for somebody to do that. And
right.
this is a quick. It just stepped me back, but I guess it kind of opened my eyes to not believe a lot of people and just I just got that experience from that.
You know, it's interesting that you say that because I feel like so many people that love boxing, they're going to show up, they'll watch the fights on TV, whatever it is. But the more you get involved in it, there is a massive business behind the scenes. And obviously, I don't want to say it's corrupt, obviously, but especially the lower ranks when you're building yourself up, there's a lot of stuff that happens that does not probably go according to the rules. And there's a little bit dirty, you could say, happens, especially in the situation like you talked about there. But even, there's stuff that does happen at the highest ranks where you're at today. But can you kind of walk us through that? How have you learned to, go through the little bit of the chaotic and the chaos, I should say, behind the scenes outside of the ring in boxing?
Yeah, I try. There's a lot of things that happen. I prefer not to say a lot because it's boxing is a small world.
Right.
Really small world, and there's a lot of people that talk and everything gets around. Like if you say something here, obviously we know a lot of trainers. We've been in the sport for a very long time, and we know a lot of people, and just there's a lot of people that talk, and then the business side, you just gotta be careful and keep your circle really small.
Hmm.
The people that you really that you've been since the beginning should be there.
Right.
Just don't try to add a lot of people inside your circle because they could try to show you the good intentions, but then they'll show their true colors at the end. And
Right.
it's just really, yeah, just be the boxing could be a little like you said, it could be dirty, but you just gotta know how to maneuver it.
Did that Mexico situation that wake you up to everything going on, or did that even take a little bit longer to really grasp the totality of everything happening behind the scenes in boxing?
Yeah, it kind of woke me up. Me and my trainer,
Right.
we actually they were even talking about. They were like, "Oh, are you guys gonna come back and fight over here?" And we were like, "I don't know. We're gonna have to see." Because I was
Right.
still 17 at the age at that time,
Hmm.
and we went back to actually what we went back to fight out there, but we were working with different people now. We weren't
Okay.
working with the same people yet. So we,
Okay.
we tried to make sure that it was that we're going. If I was gonna lose a fight, I was gonna lose fair. I was gonna lose fair, and it just worked out perfectly. I guess I you could say I gained a lot of experience fighting out there, and then when I came to the U.S., it was something that I was already advanced. Fighting with other fighters now out here.
Did suffering that loss impact you in terms of the business aspect? Obviously, when you're young, you're not going to go sign with major promotions or anything like that yet. And you didn't sign with Golden Boy anyways for 2004, 2024. But when you're in that situation, did that hinder your success? When you first get to be 18 years old, do you feel like that loss in Mexico did hinder yourself at all?
I don't. I can't say yes or no because I actually had a fight with Golden Boy at when I turned 18 because and big thanks to at the time it was Mauricio Herrera.
Right.
My trainer used to train him and so my name was always looping around. Oh, when I turned 18, that they were gonna give me a shot and
Okay.
so it was something that I kept winning. I kept winning. I can't lose no more for sure. I was like, there's no way I could lose no more. And with time, I just got the opportunity to fight with Golden Boy since 2018. I've been little by little progressing and since what like you said, 2024, I finally got signed and I feel like it was something that I needed.
All right, so give us the aspect on that business side because when you talk about Golden Boy, obviously you guys have been a great duo so far since you've officially put the pen to paper and signed a long-term deal. But when you're talking about that, you've been in the fight game for a few years now. You've been in this, going through ups and downs, 8 years in total now, kind of balancing in and out of Golden Boy and whatnot. What do you think made them kind of move to the point of saying, you know what, we want to sign Ricardo to a long-term deal. This guy we want to go with. And just kind of take us through that aspect of kind of going up and down until you guys finally sign the official deal.
Yeah, I feel like maybe a big point of it was me fighting in the UK.
Mm,
Winning that title eliminator, and and maybe for them it could be probably I wouldn't say no to any fight. So making if they offer me, oh, what do you think of this opponent? I was like, yes, I'm ready.
Hmm.
So it makes it easier for them too. You know, I wasn't out here saying no, I don't want this, I don't want this fight, I don't want this fight. So it just made their life their work easier. You know, the first
Right.
opponent they say they tell me, I'll say yes. So I think that and I think that's what makes it easier for them, and just knowing that I was willing to fight anybody, and I was a good fighter. You know, I bring good crowds, and when each time I fight,
Hmm.
um, so I just think that all that accumulates into for them signing me.
When you were going through this long spell, and for those that are not too familiar with it, having a big promoter is massive for your career. Obviously, they can get you bigger fights. Just having a big promoter, it does wonders for guys' careers. Was it difficult for yourself from a mental, psychological standpoint of saying, you know what, I know I need that promoter, it's going to help me out a lot, but I just can't sign that long term deal yet? Was that kind of tough learning, kind of going through that whole time span of saying, okay, why won't this happen yet?
Yeah, I feel like at the time I knew because I when I won in the UK, I was ranked number one for every belt, every
Right.
organization. But I was never the only one that was mandatory was for the IBF, and I was like, why am I getting the shot? Like, what's the reason why? And it was probably it was more me not thinking it was like the logic thing was because I didn't have a promoter to push for that fight, you know, for them for people to like to negotiate or to talk for me like, oh, this Ricardo, he's ranked number one, like he needs the opportunity. And I got signed by Golden Boy. I got 3 fights in, and out of nowhere, boom, I got the call for the world title, and I feel like Golden Boy has a lot to do with that.
All right. Well, I want to fast forward then because from that one loss you had in Mexico, obviously very, you could say controversial to say the least. 6 years later, you end up finding the David Jimenez fight. And at that point in time, obviously another very controversial loss there. But I want to take you through that situation because this is obviously a massive fight for yourself. You go in there, and a lot of people did have you winning that fight. You had the knockdown, obviously, in the 11th round, but a lot of people still had you winning that fight. What was your thoughts on that fight now that you look back and reflect on it many years after?
I feel like it was a fight that I couldn't make. I should have made it more easier.
Okay.
It was probably one of my I could say one of my biggest fights here in front of my crowd,
Okay.
and in a big venue like this, and I think it got the most out of me. I try to as soon as in that fight, I heard him with the I think it was a body shot. I heard him,
Hmm.
and me noticing that I could hurt him, I try to throw. I went out of my game plan, and I just try to knock him out. And I think that's what hurt my. It made the fight harder than it should have been,
Okay.
and that's when I got a little bit more experience. And then obviously it hurt. That loss hurt a lot because I knew I was so close for that world title again, and me losing that fight, it just pushed me back.
Right.
And I just got a lot. The way I went to recover was that I had a lot of people messaging me. I was like, "Oh, you won that fight. Oh, you won this fight. Like, don't be." There's I had my supporters were really supportive, and that's how I pushed through to that fight. You know, through that moment, and I appreciate everybody that reached out at that time.
If I were to have gone and contact you and say, hey, I know the future for some reason, and by 2025, you're going to have two of the belts at flyweight. At that moment in time coming off, let's say a couple of days after the loss of David Jimenez, what would your reaction have been?
I'll feel like I was like maybe because I
Okay.
maybe, but when actually having the two titles, it just feels for me it feels crazy. You know, it feels surreal that I actually have the two belts now.
Hmm.
But I always envision myself of becoming a champion,
Okay.
and becoming a two-time champion in one night. I think that's crazy.
Absolutely. Well, I want to ask a couple more things before I let you go, and one of which is this. We look back to July 2024. You fight the former WBO lightweight world champion Angel Acosta at the Toyota Arena. I feel like that was almost the moment that really just opened the door and people knew, okay, you're back. You're going to set yourself back in position. It's only a matter of time to get that world championship now. Walk us through that night, and would you say it's an accurate statement? Do you feel like at that moment in time, you felt like you almost saw the light at the end of the tunnel, that that world championship shot was going to be coming soon for yourself?
Yeah, and I feel like with time, with each fight, that I've gotten was the opportunity to become a better fighter. And after the fight that I lost with Jimenez, maybe I wasn't ready at that
Mm-hmm.
time. So God knew when it was the perfect time for me to become a champion, and it was that night.
All right. Well, I also have to ask you. You go by the name El Nino. For those who do not know Spanish very well, that is the boy. I have to ask you about that. Why is that the nickname you decided to go with?
It was a nickname that here in my family they gave me since I was a small kid. I was we when we moved to Rialto, it was uh it was three families living in one house. It was my two uncles and my aunts with their kids, and
Okay.
it was my mom and dad, and I was the only boy out of three, yeah, out of three females,
Okay.
and I was the only boy. So the easier way to know it was like, hey, Nino. And they just called me
Mm.
Nino. And then with as I got older, I just kept looking. It just fit perfectly. People think I'm younger than what I am, so
Mm-hmm.
it just fit perfectly with the nickname.
Awesome. Well, Ricardo, I've got one final question for you, and it is the question I like wrapping up each and every single interview with, and that's talking about your legacy. Obviously, we've already talked about you already put your name in the record books in your life, in your weight class at 26 years old now, but you still got a long career ahead of yourself. So I want to ask you this. When you do decide to step away from boxing, however many years away that is, what do you want to be remembered for what you have accomplished both inside and outside of the ring?
I want people to recognize me as an exciting fighter. Somebody that fought everybody, said no, didn't back down from any fight.
Mm.
Always giving exciting fights. People to enjoy watching, and I just want to be recognized as that, and then one of the best to do it.
I love that. Ricardo, congratulations once again. I'm so excited to see what God's got in store for you, and I appreciate you for taking time to come on the show again.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Of
All right,
course.
I got right here.
There it is. That's awesome, man. Well, congratulations once again, man. You're always welcome on. Of
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you for inviting me.
course, you're always welcome on, man. God bless.
Same. Thank you.
Yep.